Hello, conservationists. This is the week 8 overview, and in this week, you're going to be learning about the universal soil loss equation, and you'll also learn about climate change and erosivity and land degradation. So let's walk through each of the topics. So you'll start off with a lecture video on the universal soil loss equation. So this is going to give you an overview of the model. So this was the first kind of widespread model used to predict soil erosion. So you learn some of the history of it and how it functions, and just kind of a general overview. The next thing you'll learn about is climate change and this term called erosivity, which is how erosive rainfall can be based on the intensity of that rainfall. Along with that, land degradation. So we have two readings for this topic. So the first one is global rainfall intensity projections for 2050 and 2070. And the second one, if I can find the beginning here, climate change in land, an IPC special report on climate, desertification, and land degradation, sustainable management, food security, and global gas fluxes in terrestrial ecosystems. So a long title, but basically it's there's one specific chapter that I want you to read from this long report. So this is from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, and uh, and so this is a report from that intergovernmental panel, and I want you to download chapter 4, and then from chapter 4 there's actually specific sections I want you to read. So I want you to read sections 4.1 to 4.4, especially section 4.4. So that's the part I want you to zero in on. It's actually a very long report if you consider all the different chapters and sections and so on. I don't want you to do that. So section 4.4 in particular, and if you have time, do 4.1 to 4.4. All right, so that's a more or less a government report or intergovernmental report, if you will. And the first one is a peer-reviewed paper. So we have two different sort of readings this week, both of which I think are very relevant to estimating erosion, because the issue that we have is as in some parts of the world, as rainfall gets more intense, where we have more rain, but it's concentrated in fewer storms, like is projected for the Midwest, and is what we're experiencing, it actually makes things a little bit more erosive. And that would influence our predictions on soil erosion. So that's the dots I want you to connect from there. We also have an assigned reading from the Worst Hard Times. This is chapter 13 and 14. And there are recordings of both of those chapters from me reading it if you're interested. And then we have a discussion topic, and this week's discussion is climate change, erosivity, and land degradation. So I have a series of questions that I would like you to answer. There's quite a few questions on here, so 5 questions in total. So try to answer all of these, and hopefully you can kind of connect the dots between predicting soil erosion and the issues that we face with climate change. And then we also have a conservation agency discussion. In this case, we're going to study the Agriculture Research Service, or the USDA ARS. So you can go ahead and read all the materials that are posted in the textbook. And then once you've read or skimmed through those, then go ahead and answer the questions for the discussion. All right. And then the final thing for this week is a lab report. So this week's lab, you were going to do some erosion modeling using the universal soil loss equation. So what you learned in the lecture video before, you're going to put that into practice by modeling erosion at your field site. And just a quick look at the universal soil loss equation lab, the idea is that you're going to use data from your site, so soil cover and slope data from your site, in particular from Soil Health Assessment Part 1, soil cover, slope, and residue breakdown. That plus some crop information about your site will be really all you need to know to do these calculations. So there's a brief intro on the universal soil loss equation, and then there's really kind of two parts. One is estimating erosion rates under the current conditions, and to do that, we need all the factors that go into the model. So erosivity, so erodibility, topographic, cover, and supporting practices. And there's some tables along the way to help you figure those things out. And then, so once you've done the calculation with your existing site data, then the next step I want you to do is try to come up with two different management scenarios where something about how the management of that site has changed. So it could be changing the crops that are grown, or changing tillage practices to allow more residue to remain on the surface, or switch to no-till, or it could be implementing terraces on the field or installing terraces. So all those things would affect the soil erosion. And so what I want you to do is sort of come up with two different scenarios that are different from the existing conditions and try to estimate what the erosion rates would be. Then we have a series of questions associated with those. So that is a summary of week 8. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, good luck with this week.